What is going on, guys? Your boy Joey Shakes coming guys with a video right now. So I want to go over some news for the Philadelphia Eagles. Nothing crazy. I want to talk about Howie Roseman for a little bit, but first I want to talk about some front office members. And over the past few years, the Eagles have been losing a lot of members towards the front office, the scouting department. And is this actually getting better for the Eagles? It feels like the more people we are losing to other teams, the better we are at probably going to be, at drafting and really making moves. So, a few people I want to mention right now. So you obviously know, Andrew Berry a few years ago, went to, the Cleveland Browns. He was Howie's right-hand man in the draft room. And obviously the Cleveland Browns have built a really good team. So Andrew Berry is the new GM over there. Catherine Rake was I can't really say her last name. She was the vice president of football operations, hired in 2019. And now I think she is going to the Cleveland Browns for a higher up job, a higher role job. I don't know what it is, didn't really say, but that was pretty much it with her. Now, Director of Player Personnel Ian Cunningham, he is going to the Bears as the new GM, from what it sounds like right now, which is kind of crazy. And then Eagles VP of Player Personnel, Andy Weidel, that we see at obviously all the, after the draft, we see all the press conferences. Andy Weidel is the front runner to be the Pittsburgh Steelers GM. Okay. And then obviously there's more rumors about another, VP of Player Personnel coming in here to take Andy Weidel's spot. It could be former GM and current personnel Dave Caldwell from the Jaguars as of right now. So that's like the rumor of who could actually take that spot. So it seems like the Eagles are losing just front office members in the scout and analytics department. They're losing people left and right, every single year. And I don't know if it's really making a difference. I mean, it seems like the past couple of years, like they lost a lot of people, and still, they're drafting well. They drafted well last year and they had a monster draft this year. So how much of a difference is it going to make? I don't know, because Howie Roseman has the last say at the end of the day. I think with this coaching staff, I think there was a collaborative effort, and I don't know what that war room looked like. I mean, we didn't really see much of that war room when picks were being made, and we saw a few things what was going on, but obviously nothing crazy like last year with the fist, the rejection fist bump with Donahue, which I thought it was pretty funny. But overall, when you think about the draft and how far we've come, and this is a rebuilding year for the Eagles. I mean, Howie Roseman, holy crap, dude. Howie Roseman had a fantastic draft. And look, I was nervous the day before, the day of, and didn't think they were going to make the moves they were going to make. Every pre-draft visit that the Eagles had made sense for certain positions. They had safety, they had corner, they had, defensive line. I mean, they had really good pre-draft visits, wide receiver as well. That really made sense. That wasn't like, you know what I mean? And the Eagles had a lot of flexibility. Like, if Howie Roseman wants to get more picks every single year, I feel like the more picks he has, obviously the more picks any GM has, the more flexibility you're going to have in these drafts. Okay, the Carson Wentz trade, moving back from 6 to 12 in last year's draft with Miami to get their first-round pick, then moving up to only give away a third-round pick, which was the third-round pick from the Carson Wentz trade to go draft Devontae Smith. I mean, he had 3 first-round picks. He traded with the Saints. We ended up getting 15 and 18. And we got a first-round, pretty much a first-round pick for 2023, and a second-round pick for 24. So you have 2 first-round picks next year, a second-round pick, an extra second for 24. So I thought he made some really good trades, because Howie doesn't lose on trades. That's the one thing I could say about him. But I got to say, between last year's draft and this year's draft, it freaking blew me away. It really did. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm kind of like sitting here and I'm like, did he really draft all these guys? And a lot of people don't understand, like, he was aggressive. You gave away 3-4 picks for Jordan Davis. I could care less. Usually day 3, we have multiple 5th, 6th, and 7th round picks, but I didn't care because Eagles were aggressive. Howie Roseman was aggressive to go get Jordan Davis, and I was totally fine with it. You make the trade for A.J. Brown, giving up a first and a third for a 24-year-old that's getting paid on a new deal, $25 million a year. I was totally fine with that, because at the end of the day, A.J. Brown is 24. That is some of these draft picks are 24 years old, and you ended up getting a weapon, not just for the short term. You end up getting a guy for 4 more years after this year. This year's cap number for A.J. Brown is, $4 to $6 million against the cap, because he's not on that big deal yet. And then once 2023 comes along, that's when he starts his new deal. Gives Jalen Hurts another weapon. And to be honest with you, I mean, I like this wide receiver core better than the Super Bowl wide receiver. I think this is going to be a better core, a better offensive line, and I think you have really good running backs here. I think you need to add another one. I think they added one in Kennedy Brooks. I think there's some good things going on. I like how they drafted a center in the second round and Cam Jurgens that could be the replacement for Jason Kelce. Nobody liked that pick at first, but obviously getting Nakobe Dean in the third round for almost nothing. Okay, a top 14 player in this draft, and you ended up picking him up in the third round because of slander across his name of a pectoral injury that seems to be totally fine right now, that he's healthy, ready to go for rookie minicamp this weekend, and we can't really complain about it. Obviously, Kyron Johnson in the sixth round from Kansas was a really good, they moved up for him, and, he's a hybrid defensive end / linebacker, and then they get this, Grant Kelvaketa, I can't even say his name, the tight end from SMU, and that's a guy that could potentially be the number 2. Who knows if J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is going to survive as a number 2 tight end, blocking defensive ends and blocking linebackers. This guy could surely probably beat him out if that's going to be the case. I thought it was an A+ draft. I mean, I was so shocked. And it seems like the more personnel we've been losing, it's just the better it's going to be. I just feel like I don't know what happened in that draft room. I don't know if Howie really had the final say or, from what Howie told us beginning, I think the end of the year press conference, he did tell us last year that, their procedure of going about the draft is going to be like him talking to the coaches. If this certain player fits our scheme and is going to fit well, they will draft that player. So I feel like there maybe was a collaborative effort, that it wasn't Howie just being himself and not talking to anybody and not caring about what anyone else thinks. I think that's really important for the Philadelphia Eagles and really to the fans, because we have to draft better. I mean, just think about it. The more you draft, the more you could hit on this draft. You can hit on 3-4 players. I mean, they could potentially hit on 3 or more players or 4 players at this point from this draft we just had. And to be honest with you, I couldn't be any happier. Because the more draft picks you do hit on, the more cap space you're going to have, okay? The more cap space you have, the less you're going to have to then you can make restructures. You don't have to restructure from $73 million to get under the cap so we have money for free agency, because really the first day of free agency this past year, we had last year we had $3 million. We had to restructure from $70-something million last year, and we had $3 million in the 2021 offseason. It was crazy. It was a slow strategic free agency. A lot of guys didn't pan out, not really. So I feel like, there's just something happening here. And Howie Roseman did mention that this draft was for the long term, not the short term, because I don't think the Eagles are thinking that they're going to win next year. But at the same time, they're kind of like screwing with us because they're making some really good moves for the future. And on top of that, if Jalen Hurts works out, I so hope it does, because number one, he already knows the guys and knows the players and has been around everybody. And because you bring a new quarterback in next year, then he has to come in, then he has to, that's the only good thing about drafting a quarterback next year. If Jalen Hurts does fail this year, is that there's a team waiting for this new quarterback next year if he's drafted here and inheriting a good offensive line, good wide receivers. I mean, everything's set in stone for a new quarterback coming into the room next year if that's the case. But Jalen Hurts working out, you got 2 first-round picks and a second next year, and you could do whatever the hell you want with those picks. Whatever you want with those picks. And then another second-rounder for 24, which I think is fantastic. So there is, I think the Eagles have better weapons offensively than they did in the Super Bowl offensively. I think they do. Obviously, the quarterback position is a big question right now. Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator, is a big question mark right now. So I definitely agree on both of those terms of how they're building this team, but they've made some moves to say, man, they could win the NFC East this year. I'm not going to go far and say they're going to go deep in the playoffs or anything like that, but we have to take this by a step-by-step, process. And I think as of right now, Howie Roseman got on my good side, and it was so nice to go through this draft and not really worry. I mean, we're always nervous, but as soon as they make like those first 2 picks, or at least obviously, getting, Jordan Davis, probably one of my favorite players in this draft, because I've been talking about him since the combine like crazy, and then getting, the trade for A.J. Brown, which was a huge one for me. I mean, just think about it. I mean, that's what you have to pay for when you get a marquee free agent, a marquee trade, wide receiver, a big name wide receiver from another team, okay? You literally, like what the Dolphins did, trading for Tyreek Hill, a first, a second, 2 fourths, $30+ million at 28 years old. Like, the Eagles got a bargain in this trade, okay? Because at the end of the day, A.J. Brown is the most proven wide receiver in this draft that we just had, pretty much. When you trade for him, you get a 24-year-old that he's only been in the league for 2 years, and you know the ceiling's high. I mean, the ceiling is really, really high for this team right now, and it's not only you have him for this year, you have him for 4 more years. So I'm really happy about it. And you know, I know we have safety issues, I know we have corner issues right now, but you know, at the end of the day, like the Eagles can't cover every position. I mean, I'm happy with what we got, and you know what, the guy tried his hardest. I understand. 100%. He was aggressive to get Jordan Davis. This trade pretty much was done for A.J. Brown the morning of the draft, on the first day of the draft. So, I mean, everything was set in stone, ready to go, and the Eagles already had a plan in motion, which most teams do, but I'm glad they were able to make that trade. I'm glad they were able to get every player I liked. I mean, the Kobe Dean in the 3rd round, I mean, we got him as a gift, and I hope he has a huge chip on his shoulder, and he's going to literally let every team know that you shouldn't have passed on me. The Eagles actually got a top 14. I mean, I can't believe it. I really can't. This draft really, you know, really did well for me internally, how I feel about this team. And it's nice to do all this offseason work as a content creator and then have it pay off. You know, to do all this work in the offseason is great and all, but like when it's a bad draft, it sucks because it's like, man, I did all this and it's like, I wish that, you know, it paid off for us to get some good players in here. But then when it actually happens, like it did, you know, just a few days ago, it's something special, man. It's crazy, and I'll never forget it. This doesn't, you know, I don't say I trust Howie 100%, but I got to say, like, him getting that 3-year extension, yeah, it definitely worried me a little bit. Wasn't surprised by it. Didn't even make a video about it at that point when it did happen because I really wasn't surprised. But I got to say, this team is going in the right direction. And really, we're going to look at players. We're going to look at building block players who you're going to build around and, you know, see what the dead weight is and get rid of them next year because, you know, this is at the end of this year, Jalen Hurts is up for an extension. And that's the one thing that everybody has to think about. You know, we're just going to have to find out and see. I don't know. I hope to God, and I support this man 110%. I will be in his corner. But at the same time, I'm going to be hard on him too because, you know, you've played for a year and a half. I totally understand that. You know, he was thrown to the fire in 2020 for 4 to 5 games, had almost a full season. You know, and you know, last year had probably his first full season, and then you know, coming into this year, he's only played. At the end of the day, he's only played a year and a half of football, and he's worked with Tom House, with Quincy Avery, and throwing with Tom Brady and all that great stuff. The mentality of Jalen Hurts, I've never questioned. You know what I mean? So it's not his fault. He was drafted here. He wasn't supposed to be a starting quarterback here, and unfortunately, you know, maybe he was a blessing in disguise for the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe he was a big blessing in disguise for us. So. I'm sorry, I know this is a long video. I know I'm ranting about it, but I just want to discuss the personnel changes and how is it like the more we lose personnel, the better that we're getting. You know, the more we lose in the front office, the better that we're drafting. These past 2 drafts, this draft knocked the last draft out of the park, but I'm happy with Howie Roseman right now. And look, there's going to be things that he's going to do. It's going to piss us off, but at the end of the day, like if he's starting to see his mistakes, this tells me 100%. I don't care how many guys he trades. He got to get more picks. The more picks that Howie has, the better the draft is going to be. And Howie is a master at trades where we're not going to get fleeced and we're not going to get taken advantage of. And that's what I like. Howie doesn't like to show his hand during the offseason, which, you know, that's why we make so many videos on stupid crap about dumb rumors because you got to talk about it because it's speculation. It's fun to talk about, and that's the way it goes. So, other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. That's all I really want to talk to you guys about. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about Howie Roseman, the draft in general, and what have you thought about Howie? I mean, really, don't think out of emotion. Like, really just think and sit there and be like, what do you think about Howie Roseman right now? How you felt about this draft, and do you trust him going forward? Or maybe, you know, it's going to take a little bit longer to get his trust that he'll draft well for the Philadelphia Eagles because this draft, like, he killed it. I mean, he killed it. Free agency was so underwhelming. It was horrible. They didn't do anything. I mean, it was just so underwhelming. Like they let every player go through their fingers. But I understand why they did it. Just think about it. They could have had Calvin Ridley. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Things happen for a reason, guys. Calvin Ridley was not meant to be a Philadelphia Eagle. Obviously, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown were working out the past few years every offseason, not knowing that, and then obviously seeing the picture of them working out, and then things just start to be like, what's going on here? And then draft night comes and you move up to get Jordan Davis and then you trade for A.J. Brown. I would rather have A.J. Brown than literally draft a receiver. Yes, I was a big Jameson Williams fan. I was a big fan of Chris Olave and some of these other guys. I was totally fine with getting Garrett Wilson if that was the case. But at the end of the, I know that we weren't in contention to get those guys unless they wanted to trade up. But I'm glad the Eagles made those moves. So, other than that, guys, it's pretty much it. Just let me know what you guys think just about this whole thing that happened, and don't be so emotional about it and be like, "Oh, Howie's just gonna," just think about it. You know what I mean? Because you know what, you gotta sit there and be like, Howie did some good things. He made up for that quiet free agency that we just let a lot of players. I know we signed Kaiser White, Hassan Reddick that we got on a cheap deal. He could have got more money elsewhere, guys. We got lucky with Hassan Reddick. Okay, Kaiser White and some of these guys. We got very lucky on it. So, other than that, guys, pretty much it. I will see you guys on the next SHAKESQUAD Up Falls Live. Peace out, guys. Peace.